Welcome to Retiring Well, where it's our job to help you enjoy financial security in any economy. We have got a great show lined up for you this week. We're talking about the 6 ways that our government wants to change your retirement plans. This is really important stuff. I know you're going to like it. But before we jump in, I want you to meet your local co-host and retirement planning specialist.
Hi, I'm Rob Russell.
And I'm Curve Miller.
And we're from Russell & Company,
Southwest Ohio's total wealth management firm,
helping you rescue your retirement from bad advice.
Retiring well, providing financial security in any economy. Today is the day you can take control of your financial future and eliminate worry about your money forever. Retiring well, featuring retirement planning specialists Robert Russell and Curvin Miller of Russell & Company in Dayton, Ohio.
All right, we have 6 proposals from the government regarding your retirement plans to discuss, and that is way too much to tackle in one show. We're going to cover the first 3 this week and the second 3 next week. Now remember, these are proposals, and what that means is it's not law yet. The government's simply floating this out there, and it's a proposal. If they don't get a whole bunch of flack, they'll probably turn it into law. So there you go. That's what we're dealing with. So let's go ahead, jump into the first 3. The first one, auto enrollment into IRAs. What does that mean? What are we talking about here? Well, our government recognizes that as a country, now I may not be talking to you individually here, but as a country, this will come as no surprise to you, we are very poor savers. Americans are not saving nearly enough money for their retirement, again, generally speaking. So what the government wants to do is they're trying to head this off at the pass. They don't want to have a whole bunch of people retiring and really living off of Social Security and not a whole lot else. They would prefer that you have more money set aside when you retire so you can pay for some of your own health care, so you can pay for some of your other supplemental income. In other words, so you can take care of yourself more so government has to take care of you less. So in order to help you save more money, they're coming up with this proposal where they are going to force you, no option, force you to take a percentage of your income and put it into some type of retirement plan like an IRA. There are other countries in the world that do this. Chile is one that has had great success with this. So our government's looking at that and they're saying, hey, maybe we should be doing this as well. And I got to tell you, it's probably from a financial perspective, it may not be the worst idea in the world. For those of you that are already big savers, it won't affect you. But for those of you that struggle a little bit with saving for your retirement, this might be a way to help give that extra push that you need. The next one, retirement savings cap. Now, this is one that, quite frankly, is not going to affect many people. The way this one is set up, they're saying that if you have currently at least $3.4 million in your IRA, well, the government's not going to let you add any more money. You're done. They won't let you contribute. So Mitt Romney out there reportedly had $150 million in his IRA. Well, guess what, Mitt? You can't add more money to that bad boy, according to this proposal. Well, in any event, I'm all joking aside, this is not going to affect many of you, and this is the one that's getting a lot of pushback because people are out there saying, wait a minute, just because I'm having some success with my saving, you want to punish me and not let me keep doing it? So I don't know if that one's going to get approved anyway, but it's one of them that's out there. And here's the third one I want to cover today. This is important. It's called a 5-year rule for non-spousal beneficiaries. Now, this has to do with this stuff called the stretch IRA. Currently, when you die, if you have money in an IRA, if that IRA goes to your children, grandchildren, what have you, they have the right to stretch that IRA over their lifetimes. In other words, they have their own required minimum distribution schedule. They only have to take out a small amount each year and just pay tax on a small amount. What this proposal would do to them is they would say, no, we're getting rid of that. You've got 5 years maximum to get this money out of here. Now the IRS is arguing, and Congress is arguing, that that would make things a lot simpler, and it would. But what's the reality? It also gives Congress all that tax money within a 5-year stretch. So those are 3 of the proposals. What I want to do now is send it over to your local retirement planning specialist, our co-hosts, to get their perspective on these proposals.
And now, featuring Southwest Ohio's retirement planning specialists, Rob Russell and Kervin Miller.
You know, Mike, this is an excellent topic to talk about these government proposals. Curve, what do you think?
Well, yeah, I think the underlying theme here is, we're from Southwest Ohio, I get it. And, I think the biggest theme is we don't want the government telling us what to do. That's the biggest problem I think we can all agree with.
Yeah, I couldn't agree more. So the very first proposal that Mike talked about was the one about...
It was the mandatory enrollment, meaning that basically they're forcing you to save, which inherently I don't think is a bad thing.
Look, Americans need to save more,
right?
He said it. The statistics don't lie. Americans do need to save more, but the question becomes, is it the government's responsibility to tell us to save?
Right. And again, these are proposals, and that's the thing, is you should be saving. You should make it mandatory for yourself. You don't need the government to tell you to do it. But the other one, I think that really is going to upset a lot of people, and again, this proposal is the cap on how much you can save in your IRAs.
Right.
They're trying to propose that it's capped at $3 million.
Well, goodness, we work with successful retirees, aspiring retirees, small business owners, and the last thing they want is to be told how much they're allowed to save. Right? Whose responsibility is it? This is not what this country was founded on.
Right. And, I think the proposal, and that's a great point, Rob, the biggest proposal, the one that I think most people are going to have problems with, is really the government's telling you how to take distributions from these accounts. They're trying to go back to the 5-year rule. So right now, it's currently you can do this stretch. You may have heard of the stretch IRA or something like that, where your kids and anybody who's a non-spouse can take this money out over their life expectancy to ultimately lower that tax burden when that money comes out.
Well, let's face it. This is probably your single largest asset, probably worth more than your house, your 401ks, your IRAs. This money's never been taxed before, and under current law, if it's done right and you have the right advisor, you can pay that wealth out over a couple generations and spread the tax bill over a couple generations, which is key. But they're saying because of this big wealth grab, if I may, that they can't do that anymore, right? That's what they want. They want to be able to tax everything pretty much when you're gone. And here's why. Dead people don't vote, except for in Chicago.
That's right. But, I think the biggest thing, too, is that imagine you have the opportunity with right planning to keep this money in your family as opposed to giving it to 350 million people who didn't work a single hour for it.
Right.
That's the biggest thing. And, you think about when this money comes out, of course, like you said, it's your largest asset that's also never been taxed before. The government knows this. They know it's going to be a big shot in the arm for them. And they, for all good measure, would probably want this one more than any other one.
Yeah, you're not kidding. And I think that's why you wrote that white paper. I love this white paper. The title was How to Morally, Ethically, and Legally Disinherit the IRS with Your IRAs.
Well, you think about it. The reason we know names like Rockefeller and DuPont and Kennedy is because what? They kept their money in their family. They didn't give it to a bunch of other people who didn't work for it. I know you probably feel the same way with all that sacrifice to get those accounts to be your largest asset.
Absolutely. And maybe you're feeling like you're a tax target. A lot of people are feeling like that these days. With this government gone wild, if you feel that way, maybe you should give us a call, Russell & Company, and meet with one of our wealth advisors.
Absolutely. Or if you have general questions about the other proposals, always best, call the number on the screen there, and we'd be happy to sit down with you, answer any questions you have, or like Rob said, maybe you want to sit down with a wealth advisor at Russell & Company. That's fine, too. Just give that number a call on the bottom of the screen.
And what these proposals really mean, when you boil it all down, is the fabric of this nation's changing. And what are you going to do about it? It's all about putting you back in control of your retirement and helping you rescue your retirement from bad advice.
Well, there you have it. Some terrific perspective from our co-hosts. And by the way, again, there's a number on the screen. I recommend you call that number on the screen, sit down with these folks, have them take a look at your retirement planning. I promise you, you'll be glad that you did. Now, I don't want you going anywhere because, as you know, coming up, we're going to ask our question of the week.
You've worked your entire life to become financially secure so you can enjoy a comfortable retirement. But when you get there, what's next? Wall Street and the financial media flood the airwaves with information about what you should and shouldn't do. But who are they working for? Who can you trust?
For the past 17 years, I've focused on helping people just like you protect and preserve their retirement security. And during that time, I've identified 7 different lies, each with the potential to destroy the security that you've worked so hard to build. I believe that you deserve to know the truth. And so I've built a website that hosts a series of videos that's free of charge that you can watch in the comfort and safety of your own home.
You don't want to miss out on these powerful videos that shine the light of truth on what can be a confusing topic. Why don't you go there now? It's absolutely free, and you'll be glad you did. www.retirementincomelines.com. You deserve to know the truth.
Welcome back. It's time for our question of the week.
This week's question is from Laura from Urbandale, Iowa. She asks, I'm considering converting my IRA to a Roth IRA. What are some of the disadvantages that I need to consider?
You know, Laura, that's a great question. We actually get this one quite often because, as we work with retirement plans, a lot of people want to do these conversions. But I think more importantly, maybe we should take a step back and explain what a Roth IRA conversion is.
And I know it may seem a little basic to you, but basically a Roth conversion is when you take an IRA or a 401k that you've never paid tax on, and I know it may sound crazy, but actually pay tax now, why tax rates are low, and convert it to a tax-free Roth.
Yeah, tax rates are at historical lows. And, we do expect them to go up. How else are we going to pay for $17 trillion in debt without rising taxes? So here's your opportunity to potentially lock in today's tax rates, and then who cares what tax rates go to on that account?
Yeah, you remove all that future uncertainty of tax rates, but it's not for everyone. As Laura said, she wants to know what the disadvantages are.
Of course. And, we would say, you may not want to consider this strategy if you don't have money sitting in what we call lazy accounts, your checking and your savings making next to nothing. One of the hardest things is if you had a $100,000 IRA, for instance, and you did a conversion, a Roth conversion there, and now all of a sudden your Roth IRA is worth $70 because you didn't have the money outside to pay the tax bill. It's like one step forward, 2 steps back.
Yeah, you might have converted a tax-free Roth, but it's not worth nearly as much. So again, the idea is not to withhold the taxes from the IRA. It's actually to pay it with the money that's not working for you, and that's the lazy money at the bank or credit union.
Yeah. I think another disadvantage that we need to discuss is making sure you have an appropriate investment strategy with that Roth IRA once the conversion's done. One of the worst things you can do is lose money in an account that is tax-free.
Good point, Curve. Absolutely. It's all about the investment strategy, too. We can take care of the tax strategy, but the investment strategy is absolutely just as paramount. Mm-hmm. So don't forget that this is the kind of account that grows tax-free for the rest of your life. And if it's done right, for a couple generations. That's the sexiest thing about a Roth conversion.
Oh, absolutely. And there are things where you can go back and recharacterize once a conversion's done. But again, make sure that you just have a suitable amount or a prudent amount of risk in that account because, hey, look, the tax bill is going to cost you some money there.
Mm-hmm. Laura, we hope that helps, and thank you for the question.
Do you want your question answered on Retiring Well? Send us an email to question@retiringwell.tv.
This week in Chalk Talk, I want to share with you what we refer to as the three manufacturers of financial tools, and talk a little bit about what's available from each one, where it fits in your overall planning. We really have, as you can kind of see up here, these are the three manufacturers. You can get financial products or tools from banks, brokerage houses, and insurance companies. Those are your main ones. So banks, what do we get at banks? Well, this is where we have our savings. What's the purpose of money at a bank? It's not to get a big return. The purpose is to have a safe and liquid place for your emergency funds. Generally speaking, 6 to 12 months. That's what you keep there. Now, if you're retired, I like the idea of having more like 12 months of expenses at the bank. If you're still working, 6 months may be fine. Here's the point: you have no business investing until you've at least got a core amount of savings set aside at the bank. Next, we have a brokerage. And what do you get at brokerage houses? That's where you find your stocks, bonds, mutual funds. Brokerage houses are all about investing or investments. And the thing about brokerage houses, this is all about G&A. And when I say G&A, what I'm really referring to, and please get this down, make sure you understand this. G&A stands for growth and accumulation. I'm going to say it again. Growth and accumulation. The purpose of tools that you get from a brokerage house. And as I said, what are they? Stocks, bonds, mutual funds, exchange traded funds, options, commodities, all that kind of stuff. Anything that can lose value falls in that category. Anyway, the purpose, growth and accumulation. And then finally, insurance. Typically, insurance is about income and preservation. That's the purpose of insurance accounts. This is where you typically are going to get life insurance, annuities, that type of thing. Once you get towards retirement, you're going to want to include some of this stuff because it provides guaranteed lifetime income. It's the only place you can get that. A truly diversified portfolio for the person who is retired will have components of all three manufacturers represented. Not all of one or the other, but all three. And that's this week's Chalk Talk.
Traditionally, American retirees could look forward to three strong pillars of retirement income: a well-funded Social Security system, substantial corporate pensions with retiree health benefits, and a strong personal savings rate. Unfortunately, the booming population coming of retirement age has changed all that. Now, the responsibility for providing retirement income has largely shifted away from the government and employers to you. That's why we're offering a powerful, full-color special report, which explains the 10 most pressing variables you must consider when creating a sound retirement income strategy for the years ahead. You can get this informative report for only $4.95. Simply go to www.retiringwell.tv and click on Get Your Reports to order your copy today. But hurry, this is a limited time offer while supplies last.
Hi, Michael Reese here, and you know what I found is in that critical period, the 5 years before retirement, all the way to the 5 years after retirement, in that 10-year period, I find that over and over again, Americans are making mistakes with their financial planning that, quite frankly, are easily avoided. And it really almost breaks my heart because if you make little mistakes in this period of time, you can have huge consequences. So in order to help you not make those mistakes, I've put together a simple website with some free videos from me to you to help you be smart about your planning. The website is called 3mistakes.com. It's the number 3 spelled out, THREE, 3mistakes.com. Why don't you go there today?
right, welcome back to the show. It's time for our story of the week. And Rob, I want you to share the story you just told me off camera as part of this week's segment. So tell everybody what you just told me.
Well, I met this gentleman last week named Jim, and I met him at a live event that I do. And Curve, you do live events as well,
sure.
where we talk about inflation and how to protect your retirement lifestyle from inflation. Gosh, we talk about leveraging the investment secrets of the ultra wealthy and how do they manage money. We talk about building a legacy, how to create tax-efficient income in retirement. And last but not least, we talk about how to take advantage of the tax laws for the informed. And that was the one thing that Jim was really interested in because his advisor had never even asked to see a copy of his tax return.
Oh, wow.
So when Jim came in, within the first few minutes after looking at his tax return, what we discovered was something remarkable, and it was this. Jim had saved up significant amount of money. He saved up close to $2 million. Now, that didn't come by accident, right? That took years and years of sacrifice. Now, of that $2 million, $600,000 of it was in a stock bond mutual fund portfolio and just a brokerage account, an after-tax portfolio. So the $600,000 was actually creating $20,000 in interest and dividends. And when I asked Jim, how are you using this $20,000 of extra income? He said, I'm not.
Oh, wow.
And that was the problem that we discovered. He's paying tax on income that he wasn't using.
Well, you know, that's not the first time I've heard that. You know, sitting with the people that we sit with week in and week out and meeting all the people that we meet in an entire year, that's a very common thing. What I find a lot of times is that whoever is reviewing the financial plan isn't looking at the tax forms like you were. And so most people would miss that. But, you know, it reminds me of a quote that John D. Rockefeller once said. He said, the surest way to accumulate wealth is to not pay tax on income you're not using. Which is interesting because you just said Jim wasn't using that $20,000 in interest and dividends.
Exactly. He wasn't following Rockefeller's advice, and I think Rockefeller's certainly done something right.
I'd say so, right?
So he was paying tax on income that he was not using, and his advisor had missed the problem completely because he never asked to see a copy of his tax return. Now, think about this. Jim had $2 million. You know, what about the average guy that has $250,000 or $500,000? You know, what about you? Are you getting that complete advice, that total wealth advice, making sure that you're taking advantage of the tax laws for the informed?
Well, that's a great point. I'm really happy you shared that story because, you know, when we do speak, we talk about there's really two sets of tax laws in America. There's a set of tax laws for the informed and a set of tax laws for the uninformed. And guess who pays more tax? The uninformed. You know, so you need to take advantage of the tax laws for the informed because it sounds like with proper planning, you know, we were able to help Jim increase his return essentially.
And it was so simple.
So simple.
It was so simple. You just had to take somebody that was willing to be proactive and take a look at the tax return and see how it interacts with the investment plan.
Sure. Well, real return is after tax and after fees. It's what's after all that stuff that really counts. So that's fantastic. I'm so happy you shared that story with me and with the viewers because, again, you need to make sure you're getting proactive advice. You can't get it wrong in retirement, and understanding that tax efficiency is a big part of increasing your return in your portfolio. So if you have questions, give the number at the bottom of the screen a call. We'd be happy to review your situation. Thanks for sharing, Rob.
Well, I've got to ask you, do you see a little piece of yourself in that story? If so, you should be calling the number on the screen. Heck, if you have any questions about your retirement planning, call the number on the screen. You can sit down with a retirement planning specialist, someone who is an expert at what they do, and no cost, no obligation. Nothing to lose, everything to gain. Okay, as we come to the end of the show, it's time once again to check in with my dog, Charlie. Well, you know my dog Charlie, he loves to surf the internet. And this week he's come across a story from the Wall Street Journal that really applies to our show this week, the message that we have this week about retirement. And quite frankly, it highlights what a poor job we do as a group, we Americans that is, as a group do, saving money. So here we go. The title of the article is Workers Saving Too Little to Retire. It was published on March 19th of this year, so it's not very old. Here's what it says. I just want to read a couple paragraphs. Workers and employers in the U.S. are bracing, like for a storm, they're bracing for a retirement crisis, even as the stock market sits near highs and the economy shows signs of improvement. So right away the article is saying, whoa, what's going on here? The economy's getting better, the market's doing great, yet workers and employers are bracing for a retirement crisis. This doesn't seem to add up. What's going on here? Well, what's going on is demographic forces are really causing some trouble. Specifically, we're living longer. We need our money to last longer during our retirement years, and that's becoming hard. Now, here's some statistics in this article that I want to share with you that are almost scary. First one, 57%, 57% of U.S. workers surveyed reported less than $25,000 in savings and investments. That's household. So less than 25 grand in savings and investments, that's 57%. We've got more. 28% of Americans have no confidence, zero confidence that they will have enough money to retire comfortably. This is the highest number in the 23-year history of this study. Of those Americans surveyed who say, yep, we are very confident we're going to have enough money. So let's go the other side. 28%, no way can we retire comfortably. What percentage said, yep, we are in great shape, we're definitely going to retire comfortably? Only 13%. Extremely low number. How about this one? The percentage of workers who saved anything for retirement plunged to 66%. That means 1 out of 3 people didn't even contribute to their retirement over the past year. And only about half of the people surveyed could lay their hands on $2,000 if they needed it in the next month. Scary statistics. Real important that you save. Thanks for that treat, Charlie. All right. That's Charlie's message to you. Have a great week.